on there just so you know you have a spot. So here's sig test 10. The amplitude is 8 because the total distance is from 1 to 17. That's 16. Half of that distance gives me the amplitude. So there's my 8. And then it completes one cycle in pi over 2. So from here to here is one cycle. I could go from there to there. It doesn't matter which spot I pick as long as it goes from a beginning to a beginning. All right, so I just went 2 pi over 2, and that gives me my 4. So that's where that 4 came from. That's my frequency, or I call it my B value a lot. Up 9, that tells me it's in the middle at 9. 9. And then cosine always starts at the max. Maximum, 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 maximum. Or if you do negative cosine, that would be a minimum, 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 minimum. So I chose this guy. So that's pi over 4. So it's negative pi over 4. If I'd have chose this guy over here, it'd be plus pi over 4. If I chose that guy, I could choose a lot of them, couldn't I? Sine starts in the middle and goes up. Sine starts in the middle and goes up. So here's another sine one you could have had, another sine one you could have had, another sine. Or if you did negative sine, that would be the middle going down. So I chose this guy, which is halfway between these two, which was pi over 8. Sine, I'm graphing sine. So I know the point starts off at 9 pi over 4, negative, and then up 5. So there's my first dot. To find the second dot, I take this B value, and I put it underneath 2 pi, and then I figure out the period is 5 pi over 2. Or 10 pi over 4, whichever one's going to be easier for me to add. Add those two together, the negative 9 pi over 4 plus 10 pi over 4. That gives me just pi over 4. So that's where it ends, is at pi over 4. I put a dot. That's where one cycle ends. The graph keeps going forever and ever. We're just graphing one cycle. So in the middle, it comes right back to the middle. And then negative sign, you go down and then back up. And there it is. For the cosine, it's almost the same. For finding the beginning and the end, the beginning would be at pi over 2. And then to find the end, you would take 2 pi and put it over 7, pi over 5. And then you would add those two fractions together and you get 27 pi over 14. Which is just a little under 2 pi, isn't it? Because 2 pi would be 28 pi over 14. Cosine is a little more difficult to find this y value here, this negative 1. Because you have to start off at this 3, shift it down 4, and then you move it over. Okay. That was odd. So then 3. So 3 from here to here is to the middle, and then 3 more to the bottom. Cosecant is just 1 over sine. So then I found sine of negative 7 pi over 3, which is negative square root of 3 over 2. Cotangent is just the cosine over the sine. So I found the cosine of 3 pi over 2 and the sine of 3 pi over 2. Put them on top of each other, and that's 0. Secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So I just flip that guy over, and then I just have to figure out what angle I plug in here, find the cosine of it, and it equals negative square root of 2 over 2. The negative tells me it's in this quadrant or this quadrant. The domain tells me I can't use the top. So that's how I got the 5 pi over 4. Cotangent is just cosine over sine. We just said that a second ago. And I need it to be square root of 3 over 2, negative. So negative quadrant for cotangent is over here and here. But that one's crossed off because of the domain. So 5 pi over 6 gives me 1/2 over square root of 3 over 2, which is 1 over square root of 3 Oh, I wrote it backwards. Cosine is the square root of 3 over 2 and over 1/2. And that would be square root of 3. And it's negative because it's in that quadrant. 5 pi over 6, or 5 over 6 squared plus y squared equals 1 squared. And it's in this quadrant because it's a negative cosine. Many people are writing 10 for 5 squared. Remember, it's 5 times 5. There's probably 4 people doing that. I subtracted it over, and that's how I got the 11 over 36, square root of both of them. And then, so the secant is just the reciprocal of the cosine. There's my sine. It's positive because it's positive in that quadrant. Reciprocal of it is the 6 over 11 and multiplied by square root of 11 or square root of 11. Tangent is just the sine over the cosine. And the cotangent is just the reciprocal of the tangent. Replace each one of them. And then I added the ones that had the same denominator. Added the ones that had the same denominators. 1 plus 1 is 2. I got a common denominator inside here just by multiplying those two together. So I got that. Then I have to multiply this guy times that part. And there it is. Multiply that guy to that. Don't forget to distribute. Watch out for the negative. Those guys are gone. That gives me 2 sine on the top. This is just sine squared. This is my tangent. Cancel out that sine with that squared right here. And this sine with the rest of it. Leaves me 2 over cosine, which is just 2 secant.